That Ryder Cup moment in 1989 with Freddie Couples and that 2-iron, I mean, that was just absolutely amazing. Was that your best ever moment?
Yeah, certainly one of the highest moments. I mean, it's a team event. Winning singles, I think, is always lovely too, but a team event and to perform as well as I did on the day. I was put down as the weak link of the European team, and we read it in the papers that morning. I was trying not to see the papers, but yeah, it was fantastic to come down the 18th all square with that man, and he was number one in the world at the time. But yeah, I'd hit a shot to 17 with my 2-iron. And my caddy at the time, Matthew Byrne, who was a fantastic caddy, and he said, look, there's no question, same club as the last hole, 231 yards, perfect yardage for me at the time, and lo and behold, it finished where it did.
Joining us in studio, the man who knew Christy a lot better than us, Justin Doyle, of course, helped him put together Christy's autobiography, From Rough to Fairways. You're very welcome, sir. Thanks for joining us. That must have been an absolute privilege putting the book together with him.
Absolutely, fantastic honour. Being in Christy's homes in I think it was Tullow, Mount Wolsey, where I first, started to do the book with him. Him and his wife Anne, very accommodating, stayed overnight. Then we went to a home in Dublin, of course. He lived in Goatstown for years, but such a huge shock. I think that's the overriding message that's coming through from everybody, because, as you know yourself, Aidan, having met him so many times, he was jolly and so healthy and big, and he was a real lord of the manor type.
Very easygoing, very modest.
Very easygoing, and just to see all the tributes coming in right across the world, like from people like Gary Player and from all sports as well, and even some of the top golfers in the world today, Justin Rose, Ian Poulter, our own Shane Lowry, of course, Paul Carrington. Everybody is so shocked about it, and I think another thing that just dawned on me last night is something that hasn't really been mentioned, is the fact that he was actually probably in Tenerife celebrating his 40th wedding anniversary, because it was January 1976 when he got married to Anne, and they went on honeymoon to Tenerife. So they went back to Tenerife. 2016 is actually 40 years. So very, very sad, when you think about that,
You capture it brilliantly in the book. I think some of the tabloids this morning reproduce sections of the book. But that day and the pressure he was under, I mean, just give us a little bit of example of that, because he never went on about it afterwards. But I mean, it was a scandal that he was left off the 85 Ryder Cup team. It was an absolute scandal. And some felt that they were trying to redress the balance by bringing him into the 89 team. And there were a couple of unflattering articles then about his ability and the pressure that he would be under going into that Sunday, final day of the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, as we just said, like, Christy was very easygoing, nothing much phased him, but I think he felt very much aggrieved in 85 when Jose Rivero was picked instead of him. For people who might not know, Jose Rivero was actually lower down than Christy in the money list, and normally the Ryder Cup team, is picked with the player who's higher in the money list. So Christy actually, I know the family won't mind me saying this, he fell out with Tony Jacklin over that. Now, Tony has always consistently said that it was a purely golf matter, but the reason why Christy fell out with him over it was because that he felt that Seve Ballesteros, who was the top player in the world for a few years at that time, had actually swayed Tony Jacklin to pick Jose Rivero, because they're both Spaniards,
Yeah.
And that's who we'll probably never know the truth of the matter, but getting back to the shot and the pressure and everything.
I think he would have swapped that 85 moment. He would have said, listen, forget about it. And one of the things that seems to capture that you probably get as better than most is that he didn't bear any animosity going into the 89 team. In fact, he was one of the leaders.
But that's Christy, even working on the book, we'd have our little differences, as I have differences with lots of people that I work with on books. Tony Ward, just saying the same thing there recently, but that's life, everybody, people, marriages, the whole lot, you have your ups and downs, and that was Christy for you, he never bore. What I found fantastic about him was the fact that it took actually 5 years for us to find a publisher to do his book, because a lot of publishers felt that he had passed his sell-by date, he was back in the past, and he stayed loyal all through those 5 years, he stayed loyal to the project, and we finally got a publisher for it. And the one other thing that I'd say, Aidan, is that a lot of people forget that, they go on about the 2-iron shot and the back-to-back for his senior opens, but Greg Allen last night was saying that, with respect to Greg, I disagree with him. He said that he thought Christy's finest moment was the 1992 win in the British Masters when he was 44. I actually think in '85 British Open, when he hit 7 successive birdies from the 4th to the 10th, which is still a record today, I stand corrected on that, I think that showed the immense talent that he had, and the fact that it's still in the record books. I mean, just think about that, birdie in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, and he was in sight of the all-time majors record, which, you know, he just faltered over the last couple of holes, but that was a tremendous achievement, and it showed the talent that he had. If it wasn't for the fact that he loved his pint and loved, you know, if you're in the clubhouse playing the piano, he loved the music and everything. He could have, you know, who knows what he could have went on to achieve, you know.
You wonder, because if he was transported into today's modern game where there's gyms and personal trainers and a different approach, if you like.
Well, that's exactly it, Aidan, because back there in '85, you know, the equipment that he had was inferior to today. And when you have Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth today with all everything that they have, Christy actually, you know, put that record, you know, 7 birdies in a row in 1985 when the equipment was far inferior than it is today.
He was just a lovely man, despite the awesome talent he had. He just appeared to be a lovely man. I mean, the number of golfers now were saying that they were personally mentored by him when they joined the European Tour. Dan Carping just won.
Paul McGinley, you know, saying that he met him before Christmas, and he was talking about memories and great times they had and everything, you know. Yeah, I think, you know, history's been kind to Christy already, and I think in the days and weeks and years ahead, you know, an awful lot more is going to come out to be very kind to him about his whole career. And just what I'm saying, I think he was very, very much underrated. There was a clip earlier about his technique and his swing and everything, which was, you know, back in the 70s and 80s. I think, you know, he was well ahead of his time, you know.
And of course, he was also a well-known designer of golf courses. And there was that awful incident, the helicopter crash over City West, that he survived.
Absolutely. And, you know, when you think about what happened then afterwards with Darren and everything in 1998, you know, it was just a miracle that Christy, you know, I think he was pulled out of the helicopter by the son of the guy who owns City West. So because the helicopter, I think, went burst into flames. So he was very, very lucky, you know. But it's another tragedy, you know, like after Darren and now what's happened. I think somebody said.
So Darren was only a teenager when he died. Was he a young man?
Yeah, I think he was only 17 and he was so close to home as well. He was only a few miles, you know, from home, coming back. I think it was a slippery road or something like that, you know, and. So yeah, my heart goes out now to Anne and his daughter Anne and Nigel. But I think little Ava, you know, his granddaughter, he doted on her. I think there's a photograph there in the book of him with Ava, and it's sad that you know, Granddad's not going to be there.
He was pioneer of sorts, wasn't he? I mean, he was our first, I think.
Yeah.
Internationally famous.
Well, that's what Eamon Dunphy, I was reading Eamon Dunphy there this morning, and Eamon very graciously wrote a lovely, lovely piece about him, saying that, you know, that before Pádraig Harrington and Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry, we had Christy, and he was, and as Eamon says, he was a huge star in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and you know, he lived in the shadow of his great uncle, like Christy Senior, for a long time. But I think, you know, we're beginning to see now that it wasn't just a 2-iron shot. It wasn't just back-to-back British Senior Opens and all the other tournaments that he won. There was an awful lot more to his game, you know. He was a brilliant golfer.
On that note, just
may rest in peace.
Thank you very much indeed. May he rest in peace. And his family. We're going to take a break now. We'll be back with more Ireland.